our shadows in the dark. They will lead the way to the hidden pathways of the heart. In that secret place, that is where I find my start.
Welcome to the Shadow and the Light podcast with internationally renowned meditation teacher, davidji.
And heart healer and psychotherapist, Elizabeth Winkler, as we guide you through our unique fusion of ancient wisdom and modern psychology.
Get ready to awaken your true essence, heal your wounds, and transform your shadow into
It's here to remove all our fears and to bring new light. The light is the light that will go to the deep to take us to new heights. The shadow and the light.
Hi, davidji.
Oh, hello there, Elizabeth. I am so excited to introduce this topic, regrets and grievances. They eat up so much of our life. They weigh on us seemingly for eternity. Can we move through them? You know, I'm here with Elizabeth Winkler, the transformational alchemical psychotherapist to the universe.
Yes, here I am.
So this concept of regrets, I was just having a conversation with someone and they were telling me the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and they were telling me that they're holding this grudge for years against somebody who they have not seen since the moment of whatever that grievance creator moment was. And you probably experience this every single day with your clients. And maybe you could just talk for a little bit about that. What's your best advice and guidance that you have for them to move beyond? Or is it to move beyond regret and grievance? Is it to move through it, beyond it, around it, transcend it? What is that path?
Well, I always think that it's about moving through things. I think that, as I say, the wound is the way. So it's not always easy, obviously, to move through something. And we might need to step aside. We might need to not do that today or this week or this year or this month. Timing is a thing. So in therapy, you're establishing a strengthening of a relationship with a therapist, a trust. And so you might not be able to even introduce the idea of releasing or forgiveness, right? Ultimately, where are we moving towards with regret and grievances? Which actually, before we get really deeply into this, how are you defining these two things, regret and grievances?
I was just using the generic terminology. A
Okay.
regret is there's something I did or said or didn't do or didn't say that perhaps in the moment I was doing it, or here I am sometime later, I wish it hadn't. And it eats at me that I did or didn't do the thing. And as far as grievance, you know, it's a grudge. It's just something, it could be tiny, it could be huge, that I'm just holding against someone. So I see both of these things as additional baggage or luggage that we are wrestling with and taking through every moment. And not necessarily thinking about every moment, but I believe at a subconscious level, whatever we've put together to create the regret or the grievance is informing the next moment, or certainly can inform our emotional response to the next moment.
I have a lot of thoughts about this. How is that going for you? Would be a question I would ask the person that's holding on to this. You know, people are holding on to their grievances or their regrets or whatever you want to call it. As you said, luggage. What does a lot of luggage do? We talked about the canoes of our lives. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, there's an episode from season 1. What are you really angry about? Isn't
that's
right?
it. That's it.
It's anger,
Yeah.
I believe, where we talk about two people who are crossing a field. They get to a river and there happen to be canoes for each of them. to cross the river. So they both take the canoe across.
I always see this whenever Elizabeth explains this or guides us through. I always see like, there we are. She's in her canoe and I'm in my canoe. And I know what happens when we hit the shore. Continue, please.
So we cross the river, and because this is a land of abundance where everything is provided for us, apparently, because there's just canoes there. We get to the other side, and I guess if the scenario now is that it's you and me, we're changing the story.
Right.
Okay. I put the canoe down, and davidji does not.
I pick the canoe up out of the water, put it on my shoulder. Not so easy.
Yes.
And we continue to journey.
Walk through a field. Now there's no more water ahead. We can clearly see that there is no water.
That's correct.
And there is a mountain that we will be climbing.
Right. And Elizabeth seems to have like a little rucksack, on her back. And I'm carrying the weight of an entire canoe, just in case there could be another waterway that we have to traverse.
Right. So when I originally created the story, now it's expanded, which I love. It was about, different things in our lives, our canoes are weighing us down, and we don't realize we're still carrying them. And so I usually talk about this in another way, which you can hear that way in the anger episode. But now we can bring it to this, I think. When you are holding on to grudges, when you're holding on to grievances, when you're holding on to regret, how is that feeling in your body? You said baggage. It's heavy. A lot of people feeling a lot of heaviness lately.
I think when we think of regrets, there's sort of grievances that we're holding against ourselves.
Yes, internal. And so some people may be, like with anger, some people are angry outside, like externally towards others. They blame, blame. And others turn it on themselves, and that can lead to depression. So, the anger, the critical of oneself versus critical of others. So it's interesting to look at the way in which we operate. Are we operating more externally with these emotions? Everything's inside. But anyway, so my first question to everyone listening is, what grudges or grievances or regrets are you still carrying? I think an effective awareness tool would be to do like an inventory of some sort. You could do grievances, grudges.
So do you start with like myself, my front row or my core relationships, then to bigger? Because we're holding grievances against people we don't even know. Some people have a grievance against this politician or against this famous athlete or against some popular celebrity who just did something that everyone's so outraged by. And then suddenly it's like, that's it. I am personally cutting them off. But I do want to dive into this concept of that regrets are just grievances we're holding against ourselves. So if you have a methodology, a Winklerism to help us transmute that grievance or do something with the grievance towards self or the grievance towards other, can you walk us through this concept? Because I think that could be our path to liberation.
Well, do you have one for us to work with?
Oh, you always want to make this about me, right?
We don't have to. I mean, we can, okay, if we want to just go with the inventory, this is like a projection exercise.
Okay, wait. I had a regret last night, but I guess it was a grievance I held against myself. Normally, right before I go to bed, I take Peaches the Buddha Princess out for her final walk of the night. It's just a quick pop out, but I need to be with her because I live in a very rural area with coyotes and stuff like that. And she's 16 and a half years old. So sometimes it takes me 10 minutes to wake her up. So I'm massaging her legs and then massaging her belly and I'm petting her and I'm whispering to her. Oh, and she really can't hear anything anymore. She can feel the vibrations, so I like to speak resting my head on her belly or on her chest. Anyway, I suddenly realized that we've been together for 15 and a half of those years. And she has always shown up and been there for me. And I have traveled around the world. I have been in Dublin with you most recently and left her for 2 weeks. Sometimes I will sit outside and work all day long and I'll keep the door open, but she has no interest in coming outside. I found myself last night doing a very, very deep apology to her, which who knows if she could even hear, because it was just because she really is hard of hearing now. But I found myself just last night, just in apology mode. I'm sorry I didn't spend more time with you. I'm sorry I didn't snuggle with you more. I'm sorry I didn't do that. Now, clearly, I've been holding these things against me, and it's not like she can say, I forgive you. But the beauty of Peaches, the beauty of our relationship is that she's unconditionally forgiven me for everything that I've ever done, not ideally. So that would be an example if you wanted to use me as some type of...
Okay, so when you were expressing, so you became aware, what was the first step there? You became aware that you had this regret just suddenly?
I was leaning into her. We were inches away and petting her, and she's asleep. And then suddenly she starts to stir, and then she just looked at me deep, deep, deep into my eyes. And in that moment, I was just like, ah. And I said, I'm so sorry. Not I love you. Well, as I was petting her, I was saying I love you. But the second she like made that eye contact, the first thought I had was like, oh my God, I could have been so much better to you.
Wow.
And she's not dead. I mean, Peaches, as far as I'm concerned, she's going into her 20s. But that moment was very powerful.
Well, it's so beautiful because I have worked a lot in death and dying. And this is the sort of thing that you offer people when exactly what you did is what you see people doing often hospice work is about that, is about giving yourself permission to really face anything that you are carrying that you didn't get to say or that you want to say to the person who's dying or the dying to people who are saying goodbye. So really powerful what you're sharing with us, because I think that we all don't need to wait. As you said, she's not dying. Right. We don't need to wait. So we can begin by writing down, just get a journal, or a piece of paper, write down what are your different grievances, your regrets you can do for yourself. I would go with what seems most hot for you first and let the list be created. You talk a lot about gratitude lists. We're taking it to the darkness. We're taking it to the shadow side. Why? Because by going there, we can create a lot of light. Look at the light you created in that moment with Peaches, So this is an invitation for us to first look at what are our grievances, heighten our awareness, and then by writing it down, can you simply accept? It always begins with, I accept that this is something I'm carrying and continuing to carry, this heavy canoe in my life. And how is it weighing me down? How does it feel in my life for me to carry this canoe that I can't stand, that the way that this person behaves in my life is a lack of acceptance, essentially. I think most things are. Or I don't like a particular way that I behave in certain scenarios. What do I need to learn? This is about exploring this avenue is, if it's about yourself or about someone else, certainly we begin with acceptance. Can I accept? Again, I have to say this every time I talk about acceptance, and it has such a powerful impact on people. Acceptance is not approval. Acceptance is not approval. One more time, acceptance is not approval. It comes out of my mouth so often, and every time I say it, people say, wow, that's exactly what I needed.
Right, because some people, the second you say accept, they instantly shut down because they're saying like, no, you're telling me to accept some abuse that I experienced or some bad behavior that I experienced or something.
Yeah, so let's dive into this a little more. Right. Let's make it about weather. Like it's raining outside. Yeah.
I love when you do this.
It's raining outside. You can choose to bring an umbrella or get wet. You might not like it. This isn't about your preference. It just is what it is. Or it's already happening. There's a leak in your kitchen.
Well, let's use that metaphor. It's raining outside and you and I are just about to step outside, and the approval would be, I love the fact that it's raining. The opposite of that would be, I can't stand the fact that it's raining. I wanted it to be sunny today. My clothes are all going to get ruined, all that stuff. But if we don't accept it. We both step out without the umbrellas. Now we're just getting wet. So what did we accomplish? What was that thing that we championed to the world?
Right.
To be right. It's a classic Jedi move.
Totally.
Justify, explain, defend, and insist. If you're a listener, in season 1, we actually came up with that right here. Well, Elizabeth already had 3/4 of it. I was the sprinkler in of the final quarter.
Yes.
But I think that's like one of the most powerful metaphors that you could use is the weather.
Right. Maybe it's your wedding day. Let's bring up the stakes a bit, right? This is what happens. So acceptance is not approval. Acceptance, this is what happened. I got a flat tire or I hit traffic. How quickly can you let go of your preference, let go and flow, and allow it to be as it is? What does meditation teach us? Allowing things to be as they are. When you sit down to meditate and your mind is, sometimes it's louder, sometimes it's more distracting, sometimes there's stuff going on. Can you allow it to be as it is? That's what I feel that meditation is teaching us, to allow things to be as they are. That doesn't mean that I don't make change. It doesn't mean that I'm allowing someone to abuse me, as you said, but okay, this is the state of affairs. This is what's happened, a tragedy to a little thing. Maybe someone's dying. Maybe something, tragic has happened in your life. Okay, this is the state of affairs. Apparently now I'm dealing with this. What is the next right action I can take? When I say right action, I don't mean right, wrong. It's a Buddhist term. You can go more deeply into what right action is.
Yeah. When we talk about right, we can probably hearken this back to the teachings of the Buddha, 600 BC. So that's 2,600 years ago. And this concept of right really meant aligned / authentic. That's really what we're talking about. And Elizabeth talks about this concept of anytime we're in a place of duality, it's going to bring us down. It's going to create the friction internally within us between what's good, bad, right, wrong, this, that. And that's why the shadow and the light ultimately is the fusion of the yin yang and all things, the entire spectrum of various behaviors. But right just means, is this supportive to you? We could look at it like that. Is it authentically flowing from you, as opposed to something that is contrived or trying to meet some standard that someone else has proposed to you?
I love that you brought up aligned, because I was talking about this in a session this week. I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding and there's so much conversation about being aligned. Okay. It can get really spiritually egoic, right?
Yeah.
I'm aligned or whatever that means. And it's supposed to be super positive. To me, it's just accepting what is, fully being with the moment. Now, accepting what is could be that there's a lot of tragedy going on around you or in your personal life.
But you touched on this, and I think this is the crux. When you say things like, are we just going to acknowledge that the thing happened or that the thing is? Can we just acknowledge it's raining? We may hate it. We may be against it. It may be the biggest disappointment of our entire lives. But if we acknowledge it, then we can work on
with it.
Right.
Work with it.
If I'm in denial and I go, it's not raining, it's not raining, it's not raining, it will not rain on my, there's certain things that we can negotiate. That's not one of them. I know the power of prayer, very, very powerful, but we can't will the rains to stop. And you may say, au contraire. Of course we can will the heavens to stop. Well, that doesn't always work. That's all I'm going to put out there.
How many canoes are you carrying that you're in complete and total denial of? Right? Like that's what I love when you said deny.
Most of my canoes.
Well, it's like, okay, this is why doing a body scan as a meditation. When you're doing this practice, this kind of looking at your inventory, and maybe you write it all down.
If you have a pad and a pen, or if you have something you can type into or tap into, just putting this down. And of course, this is a 12-step practice as well, but that's not where we're really taking it from. It's a 12-step practice because it is so powerful. And it goes back to teachings of Vedanta and of the Buddha, and is this concept of taking an inventory. And that just means what's going on? What's going on externally? What's going on internally?
And what you can do is pause and where am I noticing this in my body? When I think about this politician, when I think about my partner, when I think about my parent or myself, the grievance, the regret, whatever it is, you can write it down, but then you take it to another level, right? And notice, is there somewhere in my body that I notice an activation or a heaviness or something, right? And if you want, you could draw that. You could draw like a stick, like a stick figure kind of person. I have these at home, and I used to take pens, different colors, and have people draw with markers where this anger is in their body. Maybe it's a flame in your heart or in your arms, or you can take this, you can deepen this as much as you like. You don't have to do that. It's just an option, giving you choices here. So starting to really deepen your awareness as to where this energy is living in your body. Now, this is, I think, the root of a lot of our physical health issues, when we are in denial of emotional baggage. It can become a physical ailment. It could be back pain. It could be, the list is too long.
Is in the trillions. So don't worry.
But everyone talks about Sarno's book. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I am aware of Louise Hay's book, the original book, How to Heal Your Body.
Yes.
And it was specifically after reading that book when I had these 3 herniated discs, and it said, oh, lower back pain, 3 herniated discs, that means you're not feeling supported. And I ran over to David Simon. I was working at the Chopra Center. He was my boss and my best friend at the time. And I said, I just read this book, and here's why my back hurts. You're not supporting me. He leaned over and grabbed me and then picked me up, wrapped his arms around my waist, lifted me up and said, now do you feel supported? And I was like, no, I think you're just pandering to me. Anyway, we had this amazing deep dive. And ultimately, it was through the practices of pigeon pose and knee down twist, various yoga asanas, that ended up healing me. And in that moment, and for the next 18 days, he made a point. I didn't ask him to. He made a point of saying, what do you need? I got you covered. If there's anything you need, I'm here to support you. And ultimately, I went from overwhelmed to feeling safe. And that was a bunch of years ago. Wow. And I had an MRI 6 months later, and there's no hint that I ever had anything wrong with my vertebrae.
One of my favorite statements that I often give to individuals or couples is, how can I support you right now? Which you're making me think of. It's just always a great question to ask people, But
we should acknowledge, right? There's always going to be something that in everyone's life that they feel, I could have done a better job at that, right? We would call that a regret. And there's always someone who we feel could have been nicer to us, and we hold a bit of a grudge or we have a grievance regarding them. And I'm talking about with anything. We go to the restaurant and we say, oh, I'd like to order this and I'd like to order that. And the server says, oh, I'm sorry. No, you can't. The chef won't delete that thing out of the dish. The chef insists on making the dish with, a giant cup of cream. And you're like, but I'm lactose intolerant, whatever the thing is. And you're like, come on, server. Come on, chef, can't you accommodate me? And then when they don't, and you go, fine, I'll have something else. We hold that grudge. And you could hold that grudge for 10 years that the chef or the server didn't accommodate your need in that moment. So what's a tool that you teach people? I don't need to create an inventory here, because I have my number one, well, I think that's the absurdity. I think it's my number one grievance, but it's probably standing on the shoulders of
your number one grievance is what?
The fact that the server wouldn't
really
substitute my.
I seriously doubt this. Really?
Well, in a given day, that might be though, I was like so looking forward to this thing, and then no, you wouldn't change. There's this dish at this restaurant that you and I have been to, where they are using like this whole pasta with cream sauce, and I said, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. Can you do it with like vegetable stock? And they were like, really? We're gonna make your pasta with vegetable stock? Could there be anything more disgusting about that? When it came out, they'd used coconut milk, and it was spectacular. They had turned this Italian cream sauce into a Thai noodle dish with coconut cream.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, which was just amazing. So when I see that level of potential creativity that's possible, and I see other times when it's not. So, I mean, if you're asking me right now, what's my biggest grievance? It's not. I was just giving you an example. Sometimes really being taken care of, I feel so, so great. And sometimes someone not being willing to be flexible.
Well, that's making you inflexible.
For whatever reason.
So then you're saying, that why can't they be flexible? But what are you doing in that moment?
Right.
Not being flexible.
Right. But
so
let me rationalize it for you.
No, you're Jediing me.
No, yeah, let me give you my rationalization. I'm the paying customer here.
Oh, so you're better? So you're in a better role? Are they here
if I'm paying,
to
you
pander
should be,
to you?
If I'm paying, you should be flexible. If I'm not, then I can understand that. But if I come into
so there's rules. There's rules.
Yeah.
No, but see, this is like perfect. I love this. Yeah. Usually the thing that we're saying the other person isn't doing, we're like, okay, why can't they be flexible?
Oh, it's so
then we're being inflexible.
Love this.
So it's pure projection. So this exercise that we began of writing the list, noticing where it is in your body. You want the fastest track, you got to work with your own energy, not make it about the other person. I'm not saying you're not going to do work with the other person or have a conversation or have a need that you need to express or something that you need, a boundary. I have no idea. It's too many details to get into right now, but you can get in touch with the emotion that you've been holding on to. What are you holding on to? And accept where it is in your body. If you don't feel anything in your body, that's fine. Express it in some way, whether that's writing, what it does to you when you get activated. Are you angry? Are you shut down? What happens to you as a human being? How do you shift? How do you change? How has this changed you as a person? Mm-hmm. How does it change you in your relationships? Does it make you more, I imagine with your grievance, it makes you, I don't know, you tell me.
I want to keep going back to the restaurant, and now that they were so flexible and accommodating, and they made me the greatest dish I could ever even imagine. Like I want to go back to. I want to reinforce. And again, you may say, "Oh, you should just be flexible. You're resisting." But I went to a restaurant. I told them what my conditions were for having that particular dish. They came up with a creative solution to that, and it was amazing and delicious. So I don't want to feel that every time I say, could you consider being a little more flexible, that I'm just so inflexible that I need you to move. But this is a classic Bruce Lee quote when he talks about, do not resist and you will find a way through it or around it.
You'll become aligned with the energy of the moment. So you are resisting.
We are talking about this other concept, but I do just want to dive in just for a microsecond into this area. Making a request of someone does not make you inflexible. Maybe you understand. Well, here's where I am, or here's where my head is, or here's how I feel. Can I get you to, Elizabeth, I'm very tender today. Could you just be gentle with me? Am I inflexible? Am I trying to impose something on you? So again, as we translate that to more and more in different situations, I don't think so. I think going into a restaurant and saying, hey, the last time I was here, you have this creamy pasta dish, and I don't do that. Could you do the coconut cream? And I'm in.
Would you be willing?
Yeah.
Would you be willing?
Yeah.
This is like the number one thing I teach. Well, it's not my original teaching. It's from Marshall Rosenberg from Nonviolent Communication, making a request. How do you do that? Would you be willing? I had to write that one down a long time ago on like my notes app, because anytime, like, instead of like, can you pick up the cleaners, or will you take out the trash? All of those things feel like demands.
Yeah.
And so if you just say, would you be willing to pick up the cleaners? Would you be willing to do this request?
Yeah, which is different than what I need you to do is.
It feels like a demand in relationships, any relationship. Okay, so the other thing that I was hearing, if I can go, when I was asking you, well, you said I'm a paying customer. We have to look at our belief systems. So what's fueling these grievances where I feel entitled, because we are talking a bit about entitlement a little bit here, is belief systems. And a lot of these belief systems, I think in your example, it's like, well, I'm a paying customer. It feels very, justified to Jedi. And so there's a belief.
There. Do you know how many times I've been to this restaurant? I haven't seen you at the host table before, but back in the day, they should name that wing of the restaurant after me. I've probably spent $5,000 in this place over the years.
Right. So, it's an invitation. This inventory is an invitation to look at your beliefs. Look at the roles. If I'm a paying customer, that's a perfect role. You and I have talked a lot about moving from the role, which is conceptual. We don't want to work at the level of concept of others. That's not real. It's made up. Filling in the blanks about people, and I'm a customer and you're here to serve me and all that stuff. We're human. Can we move from our role to our soul? And when we can move at that level, there's a lot more harmony and alignment with allowing everything to be as it is. That's aligning with the moment. Okay, apparently they're saying no today. It's not happening. If you want to have more flow, if you want to have more alignment, how quickly can you let go of the preference of wanting it to be different than it is, raining?
This is so classic Winklerism. The word preference, that's really what it is. We could say, no, this is what I believe in. No, it's actually a preference. It's a preference that I like coconut milk instead of the cream that they're pouring in. It's a preference that I want this person to govern me rather than that person. So often we confuse that with my truth is.
Yes.
My truth is coconut cream. No, it's just a preference.
Yeah, which is rooted in belief systems. And we've done talks on this. Is it true? There's an episode, is it true, about beliefs. This connects to one of the most ancient teachings I'm aware of from the third Zen patriarch.
Who?
It's
Senchin Kan.
I would have to look up the name. And the statement, the opening line is, the great way is not difficult for those not attached to preferences. It goes on, but that opening line is what we're discussing.
Okay, just say that one again.
The great way is not difficult for those not attached, or you could say unattached, to preferences. It doesn't mean that we don't have preferences. That is a misunderstanding. We all have preferences. Okay. How quickly can you let go of the preference when it's not available, or it's just not going to happen? It's raining. There's no sun. The coconut milk is not available today.
Right. The road is closed. There's a detour. This store is yes. closed. This restaurant is closed.
And what I want to say as a teaching to this, because some of these grievances, some of these grudges are quite large for people, and it might feel insurmountable to let that go. Okay, I'm okay with that. I am not asking you to move through something that you're not ready to. That's where we began. I said, today might not be that day, but what can you do? Start working with low-hanging fruit. Work with, like what you're saying, the road is closed or there's traffic. I mean, for some people that's big. So, it's different. Low-hanging fruit. And your little mantra here is let go and flow, because you're going to be in flow. You'll be in the moment. Or
aligned.
you can do, I can handle this.
Right.
whatever it is. Another one I love is, I love this because you hate it. Your grievances are, I hate that the Starbucks is closed. Ugh, why is it closed? They're always closed. You'd be like, I love that it's closed. Oh, I missed my exit. I love that I missed my exit. I actually did that with my sister. We practice, I love it, because the mind is in, I hate this. So if you can say the opposite, which is I love it, you will laugh because it's ridiculous, and you will let go of this holding on system that the mind is so good at, denying and not allowing you to allow things to be as it is.
So brilliant.
Then you can align with the abundance of the present moment and make a choice that's going to work with what is.
I did that with my meditation practice about 15 years ago.
Tell me.
Every time I found myself not repeating the mantra, every time I found myself deep in thought in the middle of meditation, playing out a conversation or just scanning things, whatever. In early training, I had been trained, thoughts are bad. And so what I did is anytime I found myself not on the mantra, not repeating the mantra, I trained myself to smile. And I'm talking a decade and a half I've been doing this. But in the first 6 months, it wasn't always so easy. In the first 6 months, I'd be in thought land and be like, and that's when my practice was really more of a chore than a gift. And when I just added, I'm thinking about that dinner conversation I had last week, and with a smile, suddenly it made the fact that, of course, drifting back and forth is never bad in the meditation. Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm there. That's it. It was just that simple. And to this day, I conditioned myself and reconditioned myself, brainwashed myself, reinforced that throughout my entire meditation practice. I'm not even paying attention to it, but I was meditating with someone and they opened their eyes and they go, I was staring at you and suddenly you started smiling. And I'm like, yeah, probably drifted away to a thought. I don't even know. It's just part of my drifting process. Mm-hmm. And applying that name just takes all the emotional charge out of it.
Yeah.
That was the thing for me. That's like during that last election in the United States, the vice presidential candidates were Tim Walz was Kamala Harris's and J.D. Vance was Donald Trump's. And so I printed out pictures of both of those people. And in big black bold Sharpie, I wrote the other person's name on that person's picture. So every time I looked at the picture of Tim Walz, the liberal guy, I was seeing the name J.D. Vance. And every time I was looking at the picture of J.D. Vance, the conservative guy, I was seeing the name Tim Walz. And I posted those in my house. I had them up. And ultimately, there was this moment came over me where I was like, I have no emotional charge about either of these people now because I see them as one.
Amazing.
It was so, so powerful. And everyone else I know was like, the election's coming and the world's going to blow up and all that stuff. And I was like, well, I did my little name switch on the VPs and everything transformed for me.
Wow. I love that. I do that. I love it with the little things that annoy me. Like when I actually did it this morning, the toilet seat was up and the toilet seat was left up and the door to the bathroom went. I'm like, I love this. So little things that you just see it, that someone didn't do the thing that you always ask them to do.
I love that there's no coffee left in my cup. I love that my phone battery is on 1%.
But how much time and energy do we lose?
Elizabeth, all of it.
By complaining about the toilet seat that's up. The toilet seat is up. I've asked to put it down. I can complain about that and talk to the person again. I can also say, I love it. And then it's just funny, Yeah. But I love it. I said that this morning. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just giving it a little.
Congratulations that your toilet seat was up and that your bathroom was.
I'm growing. A toilet seat at a time.
That the door was open. So, we've dived into this concept of regrets and grievances, but actually we talked about something even more deeply, and that's accepting what is. Elizabeth didn't even know what we were going to be talking about. That's the beauty of this podcast. We spring the themes on each other and then just spontaneously flow. And so hopefully you have also found some great, great tools in this process. Elizabeth, what's the final tool that you would like to share as our today's takeaway? Living
the light. So just this practice of writing it down, becoming aware of where that is in your body or drawing that, and then looking at possible belief systems or roles that you are occupying. I think that is going really deep on this. Now you've identified it. You're very aware of it. You can work with the energy in your body, pause, notice it, notice the weather within you, allow that weather to move, do whatever it needs to do, and then it will settle in time. And to start applying, I love it, I can handle it, and working with the energy. And work with, little things. And then what happens, as I said, low-hanging fruit, little things. Put a little Post-it note in your car or on your computer or wherever you are so that you remember to apply these things, these mantras. And then when the bigger thing comes, that person that you didn't think you could forgive or accept or whatever it is becomes easier. You are deepening and widening your capacity to accept. This moves in two directions. It's not just it's about accepting and healing and growing within yourself and being able to be more accepting of others. And that's a way to live an abundant life. And we don't have to wait till that death day, like you were talking, So if there are people that you want to have conversations with, find that time, create that space, and you will feel lighter and more available in your life.
So beautiful. So beautiful. So happy that this podcast is over. Not, because I wish it could go on forever, but we want to keep you on a tight schedule. We want to make sure that you never feel that like you have to suffer or struggle when you show up to listen to the Shadow and the Light podcast. So we'll see you on the next episode from the sweet spot of the universe. I'm here with Elizabeth, Mateo. Just give a shout out, Mateo.
You.
This is davidji, wishing you an amazing day where you truly can step beyond, through, around all of your challenges. Jamar, would you please take us to the next dimension?
I will not be afraid of the shadows in the dark. They will lead the way to the hidden pathways of the heart. In that secret place, that is where I find my start.